This old world may never change the way it's been.
Addiction. I'm sure everyone watching this video has experienced some sort of addiction, whether or not you're overweight and you can't stop eating food. Maybe you have a bunch of swagger and you can't stop smoking cigarettes. Maybe you just are really lonely, you can't stop beating your dick. Maybe you get a lot of bitches, you can't stop having sex.
And this is coming from someone who had 50 bodies in 2013. Dude, I had a Bieber haircut, alright? I had a Bieber haircut when Zac Efron and Bieber ruled the world, bro. Okay? And you think that it's impossible for 50 girls out of 1,000 days to have wanted to have sex with me? Like, you think that that's not possible?
Maybe you just lost your bitch, now you're addicted to hard drugs, whatever it is. I'm sure you guys have been through some sort of addiction. As someone who's been through a lot of different addictions, today I'm going to be making a video on a tier list of different addictions, based on how powerful each addiction is. And the thing that's going to be different about this tier list than many other tier lists you may see on YouTube is this isn't going to be based on opinions where people disagree with you. This is going to be based on straight facts and mathematics. To measure the addictiveness, I'm going to be looking at 4 different aspects, starting with the itch you get to do it again, the sense of dread you feel when you're going to run out, like the withdrawals that you might feel from stopping doing whatever this activity is, and then finally the tolerance buildup. And I'm going to take those 4 qualities, I'm going to add them all together and divide by 4, but we're not done yet. That's going to look at the pure addictiveness of whatever it is. But then after that, I'm also going to take a look at just how enjoyable this is. How fun is it? Like, what do I rank it 1 out of 10 on the enjoyability? And then I'm going to take that number and then divide it by the addictive number that was measured before. As you can tell, I'm very smart with math, and I'm using math to solve this equation. You guys might not understand it, might go over your head, but the point is, this is going to be the definitive addiction tier list. The first thing I'd like to take a look at is weed addiction, and I know a lot of people in the comments might be upset about this, go, yo, Beanie, there's no such thing as weed addiction.
Oh my god.
I love being in denial as much as the next guy, but you're just simply wrong. You can be addicted to Diet Cokes. Why do you think you can't be addicted to weed, Alright, tangent aside, let me start off with the itch that you feel when you smoke weed. The itch you get to smoke weed again after the effects wear off is definitely pretty minor. Like, you definitely get that feeling of just boredom or like, damn, this food would be better if I was high, or this movie would be better. You get that feeling where like, I do kind of want to smoke again, but it's not that strong of like a nagging feeling of, oh, I just need to smoke weed right now. For me, when I was smoking multiple times a day, it was more of like a, why not, just smoke again, compared to like, I literally need to smoke right now, or like everything just sucks. Like, everything was definitely more bland and more boring without weed, but it just wasn't like an overwhelming feeling of, I need to get out of here, I need to go smoke, I can't make it through the day without this. So overall, I'm going to give it a 5 out of 10 on the itch scale. Next, let's take a look at the sense of dread you feel when you're about to run out of weed. For me, the sense of dread of running out of weed was always quite high, I'm not going to lie. Like, if I was ever even close to running out, I would always make sure to cop more like 2 to 3 days before that I would run out of weed, because I would come to the thoughts when I was running low, like, what in the world am I going to do if I run out? Like, it definitely stressed me out a bit. Like, it would damn near keep me up at night. Like, I would just think, like, life's really gonna suck if I run out. I need to make sure to get this right now. But while the dread was bad, at the end of the day, I did know I would probably still make it if I ran out of weed. I could probably be sober for a couple days. So, overall, the dread scale, I'm going to give it a 7 out of 10. Withdrawals. Now, I've seen people argue that weed withdrawals are real. There's a list of symptoms of what they could possibly be. And to that I say, yeah, maybe they're real if you're like a woman or a child or just someone with a very weak mindset. I've never got weed withdrawals, and I smoked every day for like 5 years, and I just up and quit one day. The most withdrawals I really experienced was not being able to go to sleep, and to that, I just popped a melatonin. Like, weed withdrawals are basically non-existent. And yeah, I guess you could argue that some withdrawal symptoms would be just like boredom or just feeling a little bit more agitated, but to that I just say, man, just suck it up, bro. You can do it, bro. It's not that big of a deal. You're not having cold sweats and shaking around. So for the withdrawal, I'm going to give it a 1 out of 10. Tolerance buildup. This is a big one. Weed tolerance is pretty intense. Like, if you're an everyday smoker, you really just stop getting high at some point. You get high like the first time you smoke that day, but after that, every other high just kind of feels like a numbing feeling. Like, you just feel kind of numb. And obviously, this tolerance plays a big role in the addiction, because you really just don't get high anymore, and you just kind of chase that feeling that you're never really going to experience. You just keep feeling numb, and you're just lazy. Like, it's not good. I would say this is probably the biggest effect on the addiction for weed, because it just really stops being fun, but you keep doing it because in your mind, you think back to when it was fun, but it never really gets you where you want to be anymore. So for tolerance, I'm going to give it an 8 out of 10. After crunching the numbers, the total addiction rating of weed is a 5.25, but now we got to compare that to the enjoyment and get the final overall score for weed. When you first start smoking weed, there's truly nothing like it. Like, people are just more entertaining, everything's funnier, food tastes better. Every time you smoke weed, it's a damn adventure. Like, it's just a great time. But then, like all things, tolerance has to play its role, and it really does lose a lot of its magic. However, even when it loses its first initial magic, that numb feeling that you still get from it, it's still pretty great. And you also get pretty high the first time you smoke, or if you smoke a lot. But even when you're not really getting blasted out of your mind anymore, it's still pretty chill to just feel that numb, lazy high where you can just lay down, do nothing, not really feel bad about it. Like, it's still pretty enjoyable, and you do get this, like, warm, fuzzy feeling in your stomach. I don't even know how to explain it. Instead of stressing about, like, oh, I need to do this, I need to do that, blah, 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 you just kind of feel chill, a nice, warm feeling. Like, it's pretty enjoyable, I'm not going to lie. On the enjoyment, I'm going to give it an 8 out of 10. The final score for weed is a 6.625, and weed is going into B tier. Next, I'd like to take a look at nicotine addiction. The itch you feel to get some more nicotine in your system after it's been however so long is just very, very strong. Like, I don't even know how to explain how strong it is. If I had mosquito bites covered in poison ivy, the first thing I'm doing is smoking a cigarette. Like, it's a strong itch to get that nicotine in. Man, literally the first thing I do when I wake up is pop a Zin. I literally do it before brushing my teeth. I have to take the Zin out of my mouth, brush my teeth, pop the Zin back in, just to make sure I'm okay. I'm not getting out of bed unless if I have a little bit of nicotine in my system. It's bad. After every single meal, I need some nicotine. While I'm driving, I need nicotine. After every time I nut, I need some more nicotine. Like, you get the point. The itch is real. I'm giving it a 10 out of 10 itch. The dread you get of running out of nicotine is also very real. I mean, 99.9% of the time, I buy more nicotine before I even come close to running out. But if I ever do run out and have no nicotine, I genuinely tweak out, bro. I'll start recharging dead disposable vapes. I'll start smoking cigarette butts off the ground. I'll start, like, hanging up my fucking Zin pouches, drying them out and reusing them. Like, I will do anything for some nicotine. It's bad. It is actually bad. For dread, I'm giving that a 10 out of 10 as well. Now next, let's look at withdrawals. The more I think about it, the withdrawals from nicotine really aren't that bad. Like, it's kind of embarrassing I haven't quit yet, to be honest. So the main withdrawals are just being more irritable. Like, you're definitely gonna get more mad at people because, you know, you're just craving nicotine. And then also just craving it is just the main withdrawal. It's just feeling like you need it, feeling like you need that hit in your throat. Like, no homo, but for you nicotine smokers, you know what I'm talking about. That throat hit it hits kind of different. So overall, I'm going to give the withdrawals a 6 out of 10. Tolerance. Now, the tolerance is definitely real. Like, I don't really get buzzed anymore except for maybe, like, the first smoke of the day or some shit like that. But if you're a real nicotine addict, you know, you don't really care about the buzz or whatever anymore. It's more just about the throat rip, as I was saying before, and it always just calms you down. Like, it is just a soothing thing to do. Like, I don't know how to explain it. The tolerance really doesn't affect you that much. But with that being said, tolerance definitely does play a big role in how much you smoke, because when you first start doing whatever kind of nicotine you're doing, if it's a Juul or cigarettes, like, the pod's gonna last you like 3 weeks, the cigarette's gonna last you fucking also like 3 weeks. After a while, you just start smoking more and more because it just doesn't hit the same, you know, the same thing tolerance works. So, you know, it definitely does play a role on the addiction. So I'm going to give it a 5 out of 10. So the total overall addictive scale for nicotine is a 7.75. The enjoyability of nicotine, I used to always joke about because it's just not really enjoyable. Like, there's not much dopamine that is caused from nicotine, you know, it's just a mild buzz. But that being said, not every drug needs to be a line of cocaine or a dose of heroin. Like, sometimes you just want a chill thing to take the edge off. And I mean, man, I'm not endorsing it, but nicotine, it is soothing as hell. Like, it feels like a hug from your mother. Like, it's just a nice chill thing, you know. I can't say it's just complete garbage. I'm gonna have to give it a 6 out of 10 on the enjoyability. The total overall power rankings for nicotine addiction is a 6.875, and for that, I'm putting it in the A tier. Next, I'd like to take a look at psychedelics. The itch to do more psychedelics, there's certainly not like a strong like urge, like, oh, I need to hop back in the metaverse right now, like this normal reality is so boring. But with that being said, there is definitely a certain allure to, like, you know, start tripping sack again. Like, there is something that kind of brings you back. When I first started my, like, psychedelic journey, you know, I definitely got very obsessed with it. Like, I wouldn't constantly think, oh, I just need to trip now, but I would often research psychedelics, look at, like, higher trip doses, you know, listen to other people's stories, or think about what I want to do in my next trip, or, like, just stuff like that. Like, it definitely took over a little bit of my brain. I'd actually argue it's pretty common for psychedelic users to get kind of lost in the sauce when they first start, like just like really trying to explore this new drug, but at the same time, psychedelics themselves do start throwing you more difficult trips, you know, kind of slowing down your urge to do it again. Like there's kind of a natural thing about it that makes it so you don't get addicted. So, you know, overall for the itch, I'm gonna give it a 3 out of 10. The dread you get of running out. Man, you would have to be a real freak to start feeling some kind of dread. Like, oh no, I'm about to run out of my LSD. What am I gonna do now? Like, I don't know. Something's wrong with you if that's true. Like, I tripped a lot back in my heyday, and not once was I like, dude, I need it right now. Usually when I would finish my stuff, I'd be like, I need a break, you know, it'd be the opposite. Psychedelics was more of a thing for me, and I would imagine other people that you buy it when your plug has it in shop. You don't really go around like begging for it, itching for it, all that. So I'm gonna have to give it a 0 out of 10 on the dread. Withdrawals, there's just no withdrawals. It's as simple as that. I mean, maybe there can be lasting effects on your brain if you abuse it, but that's not really the same as withdrawal symptoms. So 0 out of 10. Tolerance. Now, psychedelics have the strongest tolerance out of anything that I'm bringing up on this list. Like, if you take 1 tab of acid one day, you're going to need to take 2 tabs the next day to feel the same effects, and even then, you probably have to take more than that. Like, the tolerance is real. You literally have to wait like 2 weeks to take it again and feel the same experience. But the tolerance being so strong kind of just gives it an anti-addictive element more than anything else. Like, it's that strong that it doesn't even make sense to get addicted to it. And even if you try to like outdo the tolerance by just taking more, like, your brain just doesn't feel right. Like, your brain just needs to rest. It needs to be back to normal for a good amount of time before you do it again. Like, the tolerance being so strong really makes it less addictive. So even though the tolerance is so strong, I'm going to give it a 0 out of 10 on the tolerance. So the total final addictive scale for psychedelics is a 0.75. For how enjoyable it is, I feel like enjoyable is really not the right word. More like interesting or fascinating, and psychedelics can be quite interesting. Like, you could sit there and watch paint dry for 4 hours, and you're going to come away with a deep understanding of the world and the ancient Aztecs. Like, everything just feels fresh when you're tripping, because, you know, it's just you're in a whole new mindset. It feels like you're a kid again. Like, everything is just interesting. I mean, when psychedelics hit, it's a 10 out of 10 experience. You know, everything's magical, mystifying, whatever word you want to put. But obviously, if I'm mentioning the enjoyability of psychedelics, I gotta mention bad trips. Bad trips on psychedelics can be very serious. Like, I can't really even put words to it. I've genuinely tweaked out and lost my mind more times than I'd like to admit. I've thought I was dying. I thought I met God. I met some demons. Like, it can get a lot more wacky and wild than you're willing to handle, and it's not fun to genuinely tweak out and not know when this thing's gonna be over, as well as these drugs last like 6 to 12 hours. Like, a bad trip it's no fun. And while a bad trip can be a very scary or just not good experience, if you're a weirdo like me, even a bad trip is still quite interesting. Like, you're still going on a journey, and when you come back on the other side all intact, you know, didn't jump off no buildings or nothing, you do still kind of feel pretty good. I'm definitely not endorsing psychedelics, as it's a very strong substance. I'm not endorsing anything on this list, but in my honest opinions, psychedelics are quite enjoyable. I'm going to give it a 7 out of 10. So the final score for psychedelics on the addiction tier list is a 3.875, which puts it into D tier. The next thing I'd like to talk about on this list is sex. The itch to get some more pussy. Man, don't even get me started. Every single moment of my waking life, I have a constant urge to shove my penis into something. Every single thing I do, the reason I do it is to get that much closer to get some pussy. The reason I'm even making this YouTube video right now is so maybe it gets views, maybe I get some clout, maybe I can finally get some money, and that in turn will get me some pussy. If it wasn't for pussy and woman, or whatever you want to say, maybe you're gay, if it wasn't for sex, I would just live in my parents' basement. I'd smoke weed all day, I'd gamble. I wouldn't care. I wouldn't care to better my life, make anything better, but I'd be fine. I would have no ambitions or nothing. The fact that the pussy is out there and I'm constantly itching for it is what motivates me to do everything in my life. The itch is a 10 out of 10. The dread you feel for not having more sex, and I mean, once again, don't even get me started. Yeah, the dread is real. Like, what are you, my therapist? Yeah, it's very dreadful. It's the only thing that brings me depression, is thinking like, damn, I need pussy like right now. I need it right now. It hurts. After every breakup I've been through, yeah, it definitely hurts my feelings that, you know, I just lost a girl that I spent all this time with, that I could truly talk to, that, you know, I could enjoy things with her. I would better myself for her. She would do the same for me. The understanding we had, but really none of that meant anything once we were broken up. The main thing that would pop into my head after any breakup is, where the hell do I put my penis? If she's gone, what the fuck do I do with my dick? The dread is real. The very thought of no more sex can drive a man to do anything. It'll drive a man to murder someone. It'll drive a man to go to the gym. It'll drive a man to start making money. It's what gives us drive. It's the dread of not having pussy. So once again, 10 out of 10 dread. Withdrawals, yeah, there's not any physical withdrawals from not having sex besides maybe just being more horny, but there's definitely some kinds of withdrawals. Like, if you watch a movie and you see people having sex, or you see two people in love, like, it just hurts, bro. It's just depressing. You go outside, you see a hot chick, bro, you just put your head down in shame just thinking about how you're just not getting no pussy. Like, I'm gonna still say the withdrawals are kind of real. You can't really put your finger on it, but I'm giving it a 5 out of 10. Tolerance for sex, I mean, obviously sex is gonna hit no matter what. The first time you have sex in a while, it is gonna hit a bit more, but even if you have sex 5 times in one day, the 5th time's still pretty damn enjoyable. Really, the only thing about tolerance is it will make you start exploring, different kinds of sex, some weird shit, get a little kinky with it. Maybe if you're in a relationship, that's why you cheat on them. The tolerance definitely plays a bit of a role, as, when you are in a relationship for someone and you just kind of have sex every day, 4 times a day, it does become a little mindless. It becomes a little bit less enjoyable, and that's when you get a little bit freaky with it. But overall, how much the tolerance plays into the addiction of sex, I'm going to have to only give that a 3 out of 10. So the total addictive scale for sex is a 7 out of 10. For the enjoyment, I'm not really going to go too deep into this. I'm not going to get too freaky on y'all, but it is the greatest thing of all time. It is top tier. It's the best. If I was starving to death, the first thing I'd eat is some pussy. Like as a great man once said, everything we do is about sex. Except for sex, that is about power. I don't know, I just kind of like that quote, but at the end of the day, the enjoyment is a 10 out of 10. The final power ranking for sex on the addiction tier list is an 8.5, which puts this right in S tier. And while after talking about sex, it's only right that the next topic we look into is porn. The itch you're going to have to watch porn is not really going to hit you throughout the day, like you just constantly need to go jerk off, unless if you're that one freaky kid in high school that beat his dick in the bathroom, but for the common man, you really don't think about it when you're out with people or out doing something. However, when you're at home, just laying in bed, doing nothing, the itch definitely arrives. Maybe you're just scrolling through Twitter, you see a girl with a fat ass, and it just clicks in your brain, damn, I need to go jerk off. Now, maybe you're not even looking at anything sexual. Maybe you're just laying down in bed, watching YouTube, whatever it is, and you're feeling your dick because it's warm, it's nice, you're flicking it around, bang, it gets hard. Now you got to go jerk off. The itch definitely arrives. It's a real problem. I'm not going to deny it, but it's certainly not the worst thing in the world. For the itch, I'm going to have to give it a 6 out of 10. Next, I'm going to take a look at the sense of dread. Now, the sense of dread doesn't really work for this because you're never really going to run out of porn. They have a good amount of it out there, and it's not going anywhere. And well, quick flex, as someone who hasn't nutted in probably about like a month and a half, semen retention grind, well, more of a no-fap grind, and I just so happen to not have any bitches as well. But the point is, as someone who hasn't watched porn in like a month and a half or whatever it's been, there's not really any dread of, oh no, I can't watch porn anymore. In fact, it's kind of the opposite. You just feel good about it because while porn is kind of enjoyable when you do it, jerking off, as soon as you nut, you just feel disappointed in yourself. You just feel like shit, or at least I did. And I don't know, there's no dread in giving it up. You're not really gonna miss it, to be honest. So for dread, I'm gonna give it a 0 out of 10. Withdrawals. Now, for the withdrawals of no porn, I mean, obviously there's not really anything that noticeable on withdrawals besides being more horny. But if you're like me and you stop watching porn and you're also not getting any booty, like you just haven't nutted in a while, you do get a lot more horny. I'm not gonna lie. When I'm doing nothing and I'm laying down, bro, I'm not gonna get into it, but I'm pretty freaking horny. I'm not gonna lie. So I'm gonna give it a 2 out of 10 on the withdrawals. Tolerance buildup. Now, this might be kind of surprising to some of you guys, but I feel like the tolerance for porn is actually quite real. Like, when I first started jerking it, watching porn or whatever, that shit used to feel special. Like, I used to make a whole event out of it. I damn near light some candles, get the mood ready. Like, that, I took it pretty seriously. After, like one porn session or whatever when I was younger, dude, I was satisfied. I was done. Sure, I'd probably be back the very next day, but after a while of doing this, it lost its magic, and one time wasn't satisfying enough. I would start whacking it a couple times a day. And it just starts feeling gross, just mindless, and just bad. Like, I don't know. And on top of that, once you start jacking it so much, bro, you're not just going to the normal fucking videos on the front page. You're not doing browsers. You're not doing all that. you're getting weird with it, dude. You're doing amateur like sex dungeons. Like you start watching some freaky shit to get off, or at least I did. So tolerance is pretty real. I'm gonna give that a 5 out of 10. So the overall addiction scale for porn is a 3.25. Enjoyability, it's really not that enjoyable in my opinion. I mean, while you're doing it, it's pretty solid, I'm not gonna lie, and I'm not gonna argue that nutting doesn't feel good, but the point is, after you nut, like, you just feel gross, you just feel wrong, like, you're not satisfied. Like, when you have sex, you're satisfied, you just got with a girl, you know, you it's satisfying, you feel good after porn, bro, you feel like a loser. So overall, for the enjoyability, I'm going to give it a 5 out of 10. So that gives the overall final score for porn on the addiction tier list at a 4.125, which I'm going to throw it into D tier. The next addiction I'm going to take a look at is gambling. Whether you're up money or you're down money, there's constantly an itch to get back to gambling. If you're up a bunch, you think, oh my god, I'm so hot, let's just keep making money, it's so much fun, it's free money, let's get it. If you're down money, you want to kill yourself, and you're thinking, I just need to get it back. You start going schizo, you just start thinking, if I just win 4 all-in baccarats, you know, I'm going to have all my money back. And if I do 5 all-ins, I'm going to double all my money. Like, there's a constant itch to gamble. For the itch scale, I'm going to give gambling an 8 out of 10. Next, to look at the dread you feel when you can't gamble anymore, and that usually only happens when you lose all your money, so the dread is even more powerful, because not only are you dreading that you can't gamble, you're also dreading the fact that you're broke. And when this happens, when you clear out your bank account to 0 on a disgusting night of gambling, there is no worse feeling. Depression's not even the right word, bro. You go to sleep that night just staring at the ceiling, just thinking about, if I would have bet on Banker, I would have been a millionaire right now. Like, you just think about every decision you made. Oh, I could have cashed out when I was up. It is terrible. You wake up the next morning, the first thought in your mind is, did that really happen? You check your bank account, and yeah, it really happened. And then the next couple days, when you're broke, all you can think about is, how can I get more money to gamble with? You know, how can I get rid of this dread of not being able to gamble and being broke? The dread when you've lost it all is quite real, but then again, the dread of not gambling when you're up money, to think, oh, I'm just going to stop gambling, it's not that bad. Sure, there's dopamine you get from gambling, so everything else kind of just feels more bland. Like, it is still not the greatest to quit. It's hard to quit. But overall, I'm going to give the dread a 6 out of 10. Withdrawals from not gambling, it's not really that much. The most it really is just like boredom, as I talked about before. Is you get a lot of dopamine from gambling, bro. When you go from one day of winning thousands of dollars and then losing thousands and then winning it all back, like, it's a lot of fucking dopamine. And to just go back to your normal life, maybe you're working a job making $15 an hour compared to what you were just doing, like, it kind of sucks. But really, withdrawals aren't that bad. I'm going to give it a 1 out of 10. Tolerance buildup, man, this one is real. Like, when I first started gambling, I remember I won like a couple $100s on some slot. I have never felt more high in my entire life, bro. Like, I was ecstatic. I was jumping in my room, freaking out. The first time I won, I think it was $3,000 on a Plinko ball, dude. I was high for the next 30 minutes. But after that, after you already experienced winning so much money, the magic is just gone. Like, nowadays when I gamble, like, I'll go up $2,000, lose it all the next minute, get it all back right then. I don't even feel anything. I don't feel anything. I can win a $6,000 hand or a $6,000 slot call, and I just instantly start thinking about what my next bet is. Like, you really don't get the high anymore. It just doesn't hit. And obviously the tolerance being this strong just makes the addiction so much worse, because you just start gambling more money to feel anything. On top of that, you can take a 3-month break from gambling. When you come back, your tolerance is never getting fully reset. Like, you're never going to experience that first high that you got when you first started. The tolerance is a terrible part of the addiction. I'm giving the tolerance a 10 out of 10. So overall, on the addiction scale, gambling is a 6.25. The enjoyability of gambling, I mean, depends completely on whether or not you're winning or losing. When you're winning, it's probably the greatest feeling in the world. When you're just playing stupid card games and bright, wacky slots, making thousands of dollars every 10 minutes, like, man, it's the greatest. Combine that with a bottle of liquor and some cigarettes, it damn near tops sex. This is a true story. One time, I brought a girl back to my room. I'm not kidding. I had her watch me gamble for 2 hours before I even laid in bed with her, did anything with her. That's how great gambling is when you're winning. And I made money that night, so shit, it was a good night. But when you're losing, I'd rather shove a toothpick through my pee hole. Not even kidding. I've gone through trips on mushrooms, 6 grams, fighting off demons. I'd go through that tenfold than to go through another night of losing 7 back-to-back-to-back hands of blackjack of $200+ hands. Like, how is it even possible? The dealer pulls a 21 out of its fucking asshole. You bust a fucking 10 and an 11. It's the worst feeling of all time. By far. By far. It makes you more angry than you could have imagined. You come up with new words that you would have never thought of. The hateful shit you will say and do after a bad night of gambling, it's just not real. And as I talked about before, bro, you wake up the next day just thinking about, how did I let myself go to that far? How did I let this happen? How did I not learn from my mistakes? It's very depressing. It is not a good feeling. But, you know, that's just how it goes. You need the winning and the losing to make it fun. So, overall, I'm going to give gambling, enjoyment-wise, a 6 out of 10. The final score for gambling is a 6.125, so gambling is going into C tier. And, well, that's all I have for the addiction tier list. I was going to add in, like, going to the gym and working out to try to add something positive on this list, but this video is probably long enough, so I'm probably just going to end it here. And for all the addictions I miss, like, whatever, like heroin or crack, I personally don't have any experience getting addicted to heroin, so I can't really speak on that. Maybe for a part 2, I'll start doing hard drugs, you know, make this video a little bit more wacky and wild, but we'll see, you know. Let me know if you guys enjoyed this video. You know, the bean is back, and as always, peace out, doggies.
We are